The year is 1990. Samuel L. Jackson is 41 years old. He's a respected actor, in the New York theater scene, but he's also struggling with a really severe crack cocaine addiction. And then it happens. He's found unconscious on his kitchen floor by his wife and daughter. This was it. This was rock bottom. A moment of crisis that absolutely could have and probably should have ended his career. But instead, it became the single most important moment of his life. The catalyst for creating one of the most commanding, unshakable presence we've ever seen on screen.
So today we're going to deconstruct exactly that. We're calling it the Jackson effect. And really, it's everything. It's a philosophy, it's a system, and it's a mindset that took Samuel L. Jackson from that kitchen floor to being a global icon. We're going to break down his systematic approach to not just acting in a scene, but to fundamentally owning the moment. And because of that, owning the entire room. Let's dive in.
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with that defining moment and the choice he had to make. Then, we'll look at the decades of struggle that actually forged his discipline. We'll get into the core philosophy, his 3 pillars, then see his system in action. After that, we'll talk about his insane legacy, and finally, we'll boil it all down to one powerful takeaway for you.
Okay, so let's go right back to that kitchen floor. It is so easy to look at a moment like that and just see an ending, right? The end of a career, the end of a life. But for Jackson, it was really a forced beginning. He had a choice. Keep going down this path of total self-destruction, or take all of that raw, painful, rock-bottom honesty and channel it, put it directly into his work. He chose honesty, and that single choice became the bedrock for his entire approach to everything.
And you know what? The change was immediate. Just weeks after leaving rehab, he steps onto the set of Spike Lee's Jungle Fever to play a crack addict named Gator. He wasn't just acting the part, you guys. He was channeling the pure, unfiltered truth of what he had just lived through. The performance was so electric, so real, that the Cannes Film Festival, they didn't have an award for him, so they literally created a new one, Best Supporting Actor, just so they could recognize what he did. That was it. That was the proof that raw, vulnerable truth was way, way more powerful than any technical skill he'd ever learned.
And right there, that's the birth of his entire philosophy. Before this moment, acting for him and for many could be kind of a bloodless thing, It's a craft. You hit your marks, you say your lines right. It's technical. But after Jungle Fever, Jackson made a systematic commitment to something totally different. The Jackson effect was born. And the core idea is this: to really command a room, you don't just perform, you serve the truth. You find the real emotional core of the moment, and you just lay it bare with no safety net.
But here's the thing, that incredible authority he has, it didn't just magically appear after he got sober. No way. It was forged in the fire of decades of struggle. His presence is the end result of a long, long period of preparation, where every single challenge he faced just became another tool in his toolbox.
Just look at this timeline. It really puts it all into perspective. As a kid, he had a debilitating stutter. And to beat it, he had to get obsessed with the mechanics of speech, breath, rhythm, the words themselves. He learned to treat his voice like an instrument to be mastered. Then, as a young man, he was an activist in the civil rights movement. That's where he learned about the power of taking a real moral stand, of projecting conviction. And then came the long haul, 20 years grinding it out in the New York theater scene. 2 decades, often as an understudy, with zero promise of fame. This wasn't just waiting around, this was him building a system.
So the key thing to get here is this. When his breakout moment finally showed up, he was so ready. His voice, his body, his whole being was this finely tuned instrument, calibrated over thousands and thousands of hours of practice. His authority isn't just some magical charisma he was born with. It's the direct output of rigorous preparation. He put in the work, building the machine, long before any of us even knew his name.
Okay, now let's get into the actual framework. How did he turn all that experience into a philosophy you could actually repeat? This is where we break down the Jackson effect into its 3 pillars. This is the intellectual architecture behind that iconic presence.
And it all starts with this. This is the core belief, the central mantra: preparation is the parent of confidence. For Jackson, confidence isn't something you just hope for or try to fake till you make it. Nope, it's the natural, inevitable result of doing the work, of meticulous, exhaustive preparation. You don't have to worry about feeling confident if you've done the work to be competent. See, confidence is the result, it's not the goal.
All right, pillar number 1 is what our source material calls the Information Superiority Mandate.
Basically, it means before he ever steps on set, he creates a complete life for his character. Where they grow up, what are their biggest fears, what did they have for breakfast this morning? It might sound like overkill, but what it does is it grounds every single reaction, every glance, every pause in a deep, real, lived history. So he isn't just inventing a reaction in the moment, he's having a real reaction based on the life he already built. He knows more about that character than anyone else, and that information, that's power.
Pillar number 2 is the mechanic doctrine. And this goes right back to his theater days, even to his stutter. Jackson believes you have to understand the nuts and bolts of the craft, the lighting, the cameras, the blocking, all of it, so well that it just becomes second nature. Why? Well, think about it. If you're worried about hitting your mark, or if the light is on you, you can't be truly present in the scene. By mastering all the technical stuff, you get rid of that self-consciousness, you remove the doubt, and you free up 100% of your brain to just perform.
And the third pillar is the moral certainty rule. This one is all about conviction. Jackson projects this absolute, unshakable belief in what his character is doing and saying, even if it's completely insane. I mean, just think about Jules Winfield in Pulp Fiction. There is zero doubt in his voice when he delivers that Bible verse. Zero. That level of certainty is magnetic. It doesn't ask you to believe him, it compels you to. We believe him because it's so obvious that he completely and totally believes himself.
So that's the philosophy. But how does he actually do it, day in, day out, on set? This next part is all about the practical routines, the protocols that turn those big ideas into actual results. This is the how-to.
His main system is this 4-step process. First, he deconstructs the entire script, not just his lines, everyone's lines, to understand the whole story. Second, he maps out his vocal performance like a piece of music, planning every emphasis, every beat, every pause with surgical precision. Third, and this is non-negotiable, he shows up on day 1 completely off book. He has it all memorized. So while other actors are still fumbling with their pages, he's already living in the scene. And all of that leads to step 4. Because all the mental work is already done, he can focus 100% of his energy on just dominating the physical moment, on listening, on reacting, on just being there.
And then there's his other core habit, the Physicality-as-Psychology System. This is all about linking the character's inside world to their outside presence. He'll research everything. If the character's a hitman, you better believe he learns how to handle a weapon like he's done it his whole life. His posture, his walk, every single gesture comes from the character's internal state. Think about Nick Fury, that rigid, immovable posture. That's not an accident. Every single movement has a purpose, and it's all rooted in the backstory he created. Nothing is left to chance.
So when you put this philosophy and these systems together, and you do it for decades, film after film after film, well, the result is just staggering. Let's take a minute and just reflect on the insane transformation and the legacy this approach has built. I mean, just look at the contrast. It's so stark. In 1990, he's a respected actor, sure, but he's also a functional addict whose life is about to completely fall apart. And now? Now he is the global benchmark for cool. But it's a very specific kind of cool, isn't it? It's a cool that's built on total professionalism, on reliability, on absolute control. He didn't just get sober, he basically weaponized it. He turned sobriety into a superpower of focus and discipline. And the numbers, well, the numbers don't lie. Over $27 billion. That's the combined box office gross of his films. By that metric, he's the most successful actor in the history of movies. And that's not just about being popular, it's about consistency, it's about an insane work ethic, and it's about the raw power of his method. That's the return on investment for being the most prepared person in the room. Every single time.
So what's his lasting impact on the industry? His legacy is that he basically institutionalized this level of relentless professionalism. He made being the most prepared person on set the new gold standard for elite performers. He proved that real creative freedom doesn't come from chaos and just winging it. It comes from discipline. He redefined what cool means. It's not effortless rebellion, it's effortless mastery. And that mastery is born from thousands of hours of work that nobody ever gets to see.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. We've gone through his past, his philosophy, his legacy. Now what does this all mean for us, right? How can we actually apply the lesson of the Jackson effect to build our own sense of authority in whatever it is that we do?
And that really brings us to the central question, doesn't it? Whether you're an actor or an executive, an artist or an engineer, it doesn't matter. How do you develop that kind of unshakable presence? That same kind of confidence that Samuel L. Jackson just radiates? And here's the answer.
This is the big lesson from the Jackson effect. You don't aim for confidence. You stop trying to be confident. Instead, you systematically build a history for your work. You do the research, you understand the mechanics, you know your subject so inside and out that confidence is no longer the goal, it's just the inevitable, unshakable byproduct of all your preparation. Authority isn't given to you. It can't be faked. It has to be earned.
So, in the end, Samuel L. Jackson built his entire legacy on one profound truth, that confidence is simply a byproduct of the work you put in. The Jackson effect is the blueprint. It shows us how to own the moment and own the room, not through some kind of magic, but through pure craftsmanship and absolute conviction. And it all comes down to one simple, immutable rule. The room is won in the hours no one sees.